Okay, everybody take your seats, take your seats. I'm Sergeant Brian Hodges with the Spring Independent School District Police Department. We're going to do a little incident debriefing over the Robb Elementary shooting that happened on May 24th. Starting with a simple timeline of what happened, right? Suspect shot his grandmother at his residence on Diaz Street. He stops, sends a message to a friend of his with his intent that he's going to shoot up a local school. Goes out, gets in her car, drives to the school, where he winds up crashing into a ditch just outside the perimeter fence of the school grounds. Across the street from the school, this little funeral home, where some of the employees hear the commotion, hear the noise. They come up, they start to walk over to see if they can help. When he discharges an unknown amount of rounds at the two employees, who retreat back inside. They call 911. At the same time of the accident, there's a school employee that's out in the parking lot that also sees the crash. She goes inside to get her phone. This is crucial and critical to the entire incident. The school, by policy, the school's doors are kept closed and remain locked, but we found out later that as a practice there were rocks stationed outside of the exterior doors to help prop them open, and we don't believe that while she did kick the rock out of the way so the door would close, it did not lock behind her. The young man fires at least 3 rounds at the school as he advances. He enters the building through the same door that the teacher left unlocked, turns, firing bursts as he moves. He enters room 111 and room 12. He lets loose a 3-second burst of fire, a second 19-second burst, and then a 53-second burst. Officers gather at the door vestibule. The gunman opens fire. Two officers are struck by debris. They retreat back down the hallway, where he's finally confronted and killed by law enforcement at 12:49 p.m., over an hour and 20 minutes from the first shot fired. So what did we do? What was our response? Our initial response was not only textbook, but exemplary. Within 3 minutes, 11 officers from 2 different agencies arrived. That's outstanding. We formed 2 different contact teams and prepared to confront the driving threat in rooms 111 or 112. Because the 2 rooms have an adjoining door, they're not sure exactly which room he's in. They exemplified their training. They converged on the shooter's location. They bypassed the empty rooms, which are not a threat. And they were on their way to do what we're supposed to do, stop the killing. They approached the door and they encountered their first resistance. The shooter from inside fires off a couple rounds. And debris from the sheetrock strikes one of them. An off-duty officer notifies the on-scene leadership that his wife is in the class, there are victims in there, and the civilians in the room with the gunman. 4 attempts by a Uvalde Police Department lieutenant to advance on the door, and they have the positive location, they have the immediate vicinity of victims and potential victims, but all forward momentum to confront and stop that threat was lost. The situation was incorrectly communicated over primary as a barricaded hostage situation, and conflicting reports within the Uvalde Police Department. The Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District Chief was face to face with the gunman inside the classroom having active negotiations. Just after 12 o'clock noon, a second team prepared to make entry and was stopped by Chief Arradondo, who gave instructions to clear and evacuate any adjacent classrooms. And at 12:12, shots were heard coming from inside. A second multi-agency team assembled and advanced, and just short of entry, they believed the door was locked. Entry in the room was made about 10 till 1. The suspect was engaged by law enforcement and killed. Okay, why? Uvalde is a smaller sized town with no real history of a culture of violent crimes. The agencies, Uvalde PD, Consolidated ISD, and the County Sheriff's Department, simply hadn't encountered anything on this scale before. The mindset of, well, this doesn't happen here, prevailed. The officers had no frame of reference for what they were dealing with. Of the 3 first responding agencies, Chief Arradondo had taken alert training in his career and incident command training. In direct contrast, Arradondo focused his efforts on trying to preserve the rest of the lives. First, exactly the opposite of stop the killing and stop the dying. Acting Interim Chief Pargas of the Uvalde Police Department had never been to alert training or critical incident. But the answer of lack of training is far too encompassing to identify the weak points that led to the inaction of this incident. Lack of so many things. Lack of supervision, lack of leadership, lack of communication. So many factors worked against law enforcement. Just a few observations. No semblance of policy or plan was followed after the initial contact. Training guidelines were abandoned, which, given the lack of formal training existing in the scene and the officers, is not surprising. After the initial retreat, words like barricaded and hostage were used multiple times over the air without correction. The incorrect information that Chief was in the room talking face to face with the shooter was broadcast, so the entire shift stopped being an active shooter incident with the efforts to evacuate and clear adjacent rooms. It was a textbook hostage negotiation barricade situation. Unfortunately, it just wasn't one of those. Requests for additional equipment go out. Officers stand by for breaching tools. They stand by for shields. They stand by to keys. Now we're going to see if the keys work. They stand by to talk to other agencies. Well, over 300 additional officers from surrounding agencies arrived, both self-dispatch and dispatch, but no clear established command was available to properly guide and allocate and direct the resources. So cops do what cops do. We find a hole, we find something we can do and find a way to be useful. Unfortunately, all the information that the outside officers had was incorrect. With a lot of prayer and a little bit of luck, this won't happen again. But in the end of it does, in the event that it does, let's take some hard lessons that we've learned here and not repeat them. Training, tabletop exercises, drills, communications exercises. We can do enough to make the next one better, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.